This is the market cap page. If you guys don't know what this means, it's basically all the skins together, how much they are worth. Right now, $5.4 billion. Now, I know there's been a lot of talk about how this number is inaccurate because of, reds being traded up, but they still count even after they are traded up, which is true. So it's not the most accurate number, but I think the trends are relatively accurate. So you guys know what this little dip is. This, of course, was because of the knife trade up update. October 2025, Valve released the knife trade up update. People lost faith, everyone sold, and the market cap crashed down. But it went back up. However, it's been on a steady downturn ever since. And again, that's considering that when you do a trade up, the market cap actually should go down, but this doesn't count that. So it's actually worse than it looks. Now, if we take a look at some of the skins, you'll notice a pattern. This is the all gloves index. Look at how much more gloves were affected than any other type of skin. Market crash, little bit of an uptrend, and then from there, pretty much a constant downtrend to a point where now gloves are actually below where they were at the bottom of the market crash, which is kind of insane. So gloves are very much in free fall, and particularly the gloves that are most affected are the OG gloves from the glove case. It's these skins that are down the most. It's the Foundations, Emerald Webs, Crimson Kimonos, Spearmints, Hedge Mazes, Pandora's Boxes, Superconductors, etc. These are down bad. Let's take a look at a few examples. I'm buying skins for PayPal. I overpay for low floats, special patterns, and sticker crafts. Discord link is in the description. Just shoot me a DM and I'll personally cash you out myself. They are now $8,400. If you guys know what these used to cost, $8,400 is extremely cheap. Price trend? Look at that price trend. They were $15,000 before the crash. In the crash, $8,700. They came back up to $11,000, and now they're down at $8,000. They're selling for $8,000. That is basically a minus 50% from before the crash. And it's like a minus 30%. These are gloves that used to, well, they don't actually sell. But when they do, they sold for $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. And now you can buy one for less than half at $28,000. I do actually have a trade up for this at some point. I think 3 days from now. Spearmints in minimal wear, $4,400. That is, I don't know how much these were. Let's take a look at the price trend. This is not as bad. So they were, they're selling for $3K. They were selling for $3K during the market crash. They came back up to 6K, and now they're at 4.3, 4.4. That's still a big crash. That's still a big crash. And it's not only the gloves. Sort by covert, normal, let's do factory new, and then the collection is the glove collection. The coverts are also down bad. Take a look at the buzzkill. Well over $1,000. It used to sell for $1,300. I'm looking at, wait, the crash was October. The crash was right here. That's the crash. That little dip was the market crash for the M4 Buzzkill. Of course, it's a covert, so you expect it to skyrocket after that. But now it's down to 700. That's minus 50% from the peak. And you'll notice a similar, not quite as bad, situation with the Dragonfire. Yeah, the dip for this one is certainly not as bad. But notice how the price chart looks completely different. We'll talk about that too. This peaked at, oh my god, it peaked at almost $800. And now they're $490. That's a big dip. Of course, these trade up to the OG gloves. If the OG gloves go down in price, less people would do the trade up. Therefore, less people will buy these skins. Therefore, the price goes down. But why is the Dragonfire looking so different with this price graph than the Buzzkill? The Buzzkill kind of was going up, and then a peak, and then went down. The Dragonfire is pretty stable. Then when the trade up update hit, massive spike, which is what you'd expect, because it turns out the Buzzkill was one of the main targets of the Chinese manipulation groups. And that seems to be not a thing anymore, or like they're not manipulating skins anymore. At least not as much. Another skin that used to be manipulated like crazy is the AK Elite Museo and Factory New. Okay, this one's certainly not as bad. It definitely has not crashed. I wouldn't call this a crash. But 6 months ago, this skin was $300. It peaked at $1,200, and now it's at $900. So that's still a minus 25% in the last month or so. More like 2 months. Oh my god. This skin used to be a $30 skin. Then all of a sudden, China's like, let's pump it to the moon. 400 bucks. I actually sold one for $408, if I recall. It eventually peaked at $560 sale price. Now, back to $240. This is a fantastic looking skin. I love how the skin looks, but it's not a $400 skin, not a $600 skin. Oh my god, never mind. I didn't realize this was at $700. That's another minus 50%. Golly, that's crazy. Another one that I wanted to take a look at was the op containment. I think this used to be crazy expensive. And now, is it still or not? $764. I think it used to be. Oh my god, another minus 50%. This was at 1,400 bucks basically, and now it's at $750. That's almost minus 50% again since December. December was that peak of market manipulation, and now it's cooked. So I mean, I think it's a little early to say that China is not pumping anymore. But hey, at least now the StatTrack Factory New op containment breach is more expensive than the non-StatTrack Factory New, which that's a healthy sign. I think this is a healthy sign. The price difference should still be way larger. Minimum wear cool mints are 1,700 bucks. Another minus 50%. Dude, so many skins are down 50% in the last 2 months. Oh my god. And I mean, 1,700 for minimum wear. Again, it's a lot of money, but it's not bad. It's not bad. That's a red flag. When field tested is more expensive than minimum wear, that's not supposed to happen. So field tested's being pumped. Minimum wear maybe not as much. Battle Scarred is only 230 bucks though. Does Battle Scarred look good, or is it cheap because it looks like shit? Here's a .64 float one. Yeah, it's cheap because it looks like shit. It appears it's not just the manipulated skins that are down. esportsfire.com, which is a website that has a bunch of CS2 market indices, says our CS2 high tier loadout index is down $12,000 since November 1st, which is a minus 15%. How do I find out? Okay, here's what it has. Since December, this is down $10,000, which is like 13% or something. Let's see what it contains. This index represents a high tier loadout and includes the following skins: Glock Fade, Deagle Blaze, M4 Fade, M4 Welcome to the Jungle, SGC Calico, Op Dragonlore, Op Gungnir, Op Medusa. So far, it's mostly collection skins. M4 Howl, that's the contraband skin. M4 Poseidon, AK Fire Serpent, AK Wild Lotus. Okay, so mostly operation skins. M4 Howl included, AK Fire Serpent, which is from the Bravo case. Then we have a bunch of knives. We have Karambit Doppler Fade Gamma Doppler, Butterfly Doppler Fade Gamma Doppler, M9 Doppler Fade Gamma Doppler. All items available in field tested will be tracked as field tested, and others in factory new. Okay, that tells me quite a bit. So we'll take a look at operation skins, high tier ones. We'll take a look at knives. We already saw what gloves are doing, so I think we gotta take a look at some knives. All knives, here we go. So according to PriceEmpire.com, what the fuck happened here? Price Empire, you gotta fix your shit. Why did it just drop, $500,000 in a day? I don't know what's going on here. That must be an error. But according to these numbers, knives are pretty freaking stable right now. They're down 0.04% in the last 24 hours, up 0.66% in the last week, down 0.38% in the last month, and down 3% in the last 3 months, which is honestly, that's pretty stable. Now, I don't know how trustworthy these values are. Apparently it goes by Buff163 prices. I'm just gonna assume that this is some random error. Then that means that knives are not contributing to the fall in the high tier index. Let's see the Op Dragonlore price. Has this guy been falling in price, or what's the deal? Current price of a field tested Op Dragonlore is around $6,640. 3-month graph, 1-year graph. Damn, it's been pretty stable. This is where the market crash happened. It went down to 5K. Before the market crash, it was around $8,000. Right after the market crash, it came back to around $7,000, and now it's just a little bit under $7,000. So the Op Dragonlore is actually quite stable. It was briefly affected, but then basically came back to where it was, and it's been sitting in a very, very stable spot, going up and down a little bit, and that's pretty much it. What about the Wild Lotus? Okay, this was more heavily affected. Before the market crash, it was around $11,000. Mid-market crash, $7,000. Came back to like $9,000, and now it's at $8,000. So this one's going down a little bit. This one went down a little bit, but nothing major. So like, would I pay $8,000 for this? I don't know if I would. It's a nice skin. The details are very, very nicely worked out. The artwork is obviously nice, but I don't know. The color, that green color is just not it. Like, I much prefer the green color on my hydroponic, which is like a lot brighter, a lot more saturated. This green is just a little bit ugly. I do agree it's a good skin. Like, I would totally use it, but I wouldn't pay $8,000 for it. The Gungnir, which is the other competitor, it's the second most expensive skin in the game. The Gungnir, once again, overtook the Wild Lotus. And the Gungnir has been more stable. Before the crash, it was 10,000. During the crash, 6,000. I almost bought one, bro. I had my finger hovering above the trigger during the market crash, but I couldn't close the deal. The guy refused my offer. We were very close. He refused my offer, and obviously I regret not buying one now. But yeah, these are, after the market crash, I mean, they were hovering between 8 and 9,000. Now they're between 8 and 9,000. So once again, these are quite stable. Although with the Gungnir, there is something I hate about the Gungnir. If you look at it, see how the body is kind of dark, and no matter what angle I'm at, unless I'm like at some crazy angle, the body just looks dark. It's not shiny like a Doppler. I think the Gungnir needs that shine, but there's some weird like shadow effect on the body that kind of ruins the skin for me. I would totally use this. I've owned a factory new one and a field tested one. But yeah, I definitely used it while I had it, but then I sold it because it's too much money for what it is. But don't get me wrong, again, it's a nice skin. So knives aren't the main contributor. You know what the main contributor is? Gloves. So the reason the high tier loadout graph is down so much is because gloves are down so much. And if you look at what gloves are in here, we have the Vice gloves, Pandora's gloves, superconductors, we have Crimson Kimonos, Emerald Webs. Apart from the Vices, all of the ones that I just listed are from the OG glove case. That's obviously, as we took a look at earlier in this video, is down a lot. So here's what's up with the market. Just a quick recap. Most skins that China manipulated are down about 50% in the last 2 months. However, they're not gone. They're still manipulating skins such as the factory new Op Elite build. As much as I wish that they weren't, they just are. So basically, most of the crash is due to the gloves and manipulated skins. But overall, most of the rest of the market seems to be a little bit untouched. It seems to be fine. So as long as you aren't holding the bag with a bunch of these manipulated skins, let's say you have operation skins, you have coverts that are not manipulated, you're probably just fine. Your inventory value is likely not affected a whole lot. You're only fucked if your inventory is made up of M4 Buzzkills, Pandora's box gloves and minimal wear, and AK Elite Museos. Then you're a little bit fucked.